Hello, friends. Uh-oh. What did my Zoom just do? Never mind. It's fine. Hi, how are you? Hey, I'm Katie Stone, usual host of this podcast. Yeah, but are you happy? Which is about the intersection of creativity and mental health. I usually host this episode or these shows. Sorry, I apparently haven't talked to anyone. With Lane Ingram, who is a licensed therapist in Austin, Texas. Today, Lane is taking a mental health day, as we recommend. And so you've met him before if you're a listener. We have a good friend of the pod. Javi, I should have asked for your credits and how you would want to be described.
That's
Um,
okay. I like backup co-host.
Backup co-host. You have a master's of social work.
Yes, clinical social
Um,
worker. Kind of retired comedian. I don't know. What are we doing anymore?
None of us have performed. Javi and I performed sketch comedy together for a long time, and now I don't know him anymore. So I'm really looking forward to catching up. I can't get the chat to show up on. Oh, here we go. I found it. Wonderful. Hello, friends. If you're here, let us know. Today we're going to be Britney Spears, and her basically being stripped of her rights due to mental health issues. In supposedly, we're going to debate the validity of that today. Um, Now, Javi, we usually start the episode
Yes.
with a mental health check-in to see how we're
Oh,
doing. Tell me how you're feeling. We were just talking about being bored in quarantine, but
yeah.
tell me about you. How are you feeling? What are your emotions?
Um, uh, I'm laughing because I spend 8 hours at work, and I think we've talked about this before, but like all my meetings starts with check-ins.
Oh,
Um, and they typically
yeah.
are about half of the meeting.
I'm sorry.
No, not in a complaining way. It just makes me laugh. This is a check-in. I'm more than happy to participate in. How am I? I am okay. We're doing all right. I would say I think we had like towards like October was a lot of like, all right, we've kind of figured out the COVID thing. We had a few people over. I had my Kincaid friends over for a little social distance pumpkin carving. Um, which was lovely. And then we had a couple of other like just kind of like socially distanced backyard hangs. But now with these numbers going up, we've gotten very nervous again. So we're essentially quarantined again,
Yeah.
probably as of this past weekend.
Yeah.
I think there was something about going into it, and I was just like, I think we've run out of like ways to make quarantine fun, and we still have a year to go.
Yes.
That's my guess.
Dude, no, I feel you because like I felt like I started figuring it out in a way. I mean, I guess none of us did, and that's why this is happening. But I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was getting better about like planning socially distanced activities. And now I've started having anxiety attacks in the grocery store again.
Mm.
Like if I'm in the produce section and there are too many people, I can see too many people.
Yeah.
I just give up on buying bananas.
Yeah. We pulled into a Target this past weekend and just saw how many cars were there, and we were like, no, I can't do this. Um, and it takes a lot to pull me away from a Target trip. Says a boy who was in Target 90 minutes ago. That's
You
true.
gotta wait. You gotta wait for your
We
opportunity.
went midweek. It was a much more reasonable situation. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we were. I know. Maybe we still did a good job of this past weekend. Like, there's always like, okay, we have nothing plans. We're not going anywhere. We're not talking to people, and like everyone's talking about this, but also like a little crazy making because I'm seeing like lots of people, lots of my friends who are like out and about.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's making everything a little like, what reality am I in? Am I
Hmm.
the crazy one or whatever? um but yeah, like I just like trying to figure out ways to like eventize the weekends
Hmm.
and just be like, we are making a fancy dinner, that's what we're doing. We don't do that on like a normal basis. um so like trying to do that. I guess we did that this past weekend, but this past weekend like it rolled by and I was like, I guess we'll go to work now.
Yeah. I feel nothing
Yeah.
every day. Also, like, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like we spend most of our time being creative, or like not, but like a lot of it, like a lot of our free time we dedicate to actually doing things and making things. And
Yes.
I've always been like, I don't want to end up like my parents who just watch TV all day, even though they both work really hard. So I get it. But like, okay, well, my mom works really hard, so I get it. But now I have to be that person. And like at the beginning, I was like making stuff and I was doing a drawing every day. And like I had a second Twitch show that I really enjoyed and just haven't followed up on. And I just feel like I'm losing touch with the part of me that is not just watching three different TV shows at the same time.
Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way because I'll have like no, and I think it happens all the time. We're probably in the middle of a streak right now, but it's just
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 nights in a row of just like sitting on the couch and watching TV. And I think it's that same thing. You're actually giving words to things that I've been thinking about just because I hadn't thought about like, yeah, that's the whole thing. That's what's giving me anxiety about all of this is like, oh, I'm just becoming one of these people that just like
Yeah.
sits on the couch and watches TV every weekend. And yeah, it's like a bummer. That's honestly like you texted me today and you were like, if you're not doing anything tonight, I want to do the show. And I was like, yes, I'll do anything.
We have one question in the chat that I want to get to in a sec, but I also wonder, do you relate? I feel like because I'm in my early 30s, I'm
Mhm,
like at this point where I always worried this would happen.
mhm.
And now I have no choice in it. And I'm like, and I do in a way, it's like, oh, I'm less tired. I can't. Uh, our good friend Allison Webster, quite
Mhm.
young.
Yes.
Sorry to out you, Allison, if you hear this, but she lives in my neighborhood and we've kind of been in each other's bubble. Like if I see someone, I see her.
Yeah.
Um, and she'll be like, do you want to hang out at 8 p.m.? And my answer, I have to talk to myself. I have started going out with her at 8 p.m.,
Mhm.
but I have to talk to myself and be like, that is normal. You will be home by 10:30.
Yes. No, absolutely. It's yeah, no, I relate to that so hard. I mean that was a lot of like when ColdTowne, the brick and mortar theater was still open. And there were like times where I was like, Javi, you need to get out. This was back when I was single, and forcing myself to be social. I was like, you gotta get out. You gotta go to this improv show. Your friends are in it. You know your friends are in it. You can do this. And then just like doing the math in my head of like, well, it's 3 troops. That's probably like you'll be home at like 10:15. This is all reasonable for a Wednesday night, Abby. You can do this. And then I would, or not. I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, you got to follow your heart, but my heart has said no a lot. And I don't want it to become a habit. I feel like I'll have to have some sort of 12-point plan to become a person again.
Yeah. Have you do you feel like creativity wise, where do you feel like you're at right now?
Well, as you mentioned, before we got on the live call, I
Mhm.
have been making TikToks.
Yes, you have. I'm
And
so thoroughly impressed by it.
I don't know if that is a good well, okay, this is really stupid. I don't want to. Okay, I feel like in Austin, I had like developed an audience.
Mhm.
Like I knew who I was performing to, and there were a few people who would specifically come to my shows because they expected it to be a match with their interests.
Okay.
And while we have some of those people for this show specifically, I feel like I've lost all touch with creating art for quote my audience. Does that
Gotcha.
make sense?
That does make sense. Yes. Well, especially in a medium where TikTok, where
It's
I don't know.
teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, I don't know. Like, you and Jake are my only people, my only friends on TikTok. I feel so.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. That's not
Yeah.
true. Aaron,
Nathan
also Aaron,
Soul. Yeah.
and Nathan.
Um, but yeah, no, you're right. It's like, well, and I think the average age is higher than I'm making it out to be. I think it's like 23 or something.
Yeah.
But regardless. Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun experimenting in a new medium because you're like, I have to try this whole new
Yeah.
take on my voice, but it's also like I'm boring. Sorry. Tina just said I'm installing TikTok as we speak so I can follow you. Thank you,
Oh,
Tina.
that's
She
very
also
sweet.
asked what constitutes a fancy dinner for you and Keith.
Oh, what did we make? We made a pasta primavera. Basically anything that's in a foreign language.
Oh yeah. Dude, we made pasta with like the fresh pasta you buy from the grocery store like in a container.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
It
stuff.
makes
It's
a
crazy.
difference.
Yeah, it truly does.
We came away like, how have we never done? I mean, it adds $4 to your meal.
Sure. But it's good. It's real, real
It's
good.
and yeah, and then you don't feel like you need to go out to eat the next night because you ate something sad.
Yeah. Oh, can I tell you the other thing about TikTok?
Yeah.
TikTok is like finally, it like happens with Instagram and it happened with Twitter, but it's just like honestly, anytime I get like on a new social media, it's like how fast will this algorithm start showing me shirtless men? Like, and it's pretty fast. Like it knows pretty instantaneously that it's like, I know what you want, and like just starts feeding it to me.
Dude, if you in any way indicate to TikTok that you might be into gay stuff, I mean, granted, like, I don't know. Obviously, I have appropriated a lot of, and I have to work in those bounds. But I only get gay TikTok, and I'm
Uh,
okay with that. Do you get Ratatouille the musical content?
I don't, not yet. I
Okay.
gotta see. I had like a, I have to. I had the app on my phone, and like even if you don't have an account, that algorithm is working real hard to figure shit out for you. But then like I don't know, it was like 3 weeks ago. I was like, I should just like start an account, and then I started an account, and it's like I've started back at zero. So like the
Yeah.
algorithm is once again trying to
Oh,
learn me. So it's kind of.
juicy.
Did you see The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
I did. Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's I'm I am fascinated by the dramatization of those little men that represented the algorithm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was all Vincent Kartheiser, right? In the
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So in The Social Dilemma, which is like it's got a lot of good information,
Mhm.
but they made some just weird creative choices. And one of them was to like to film these like dramatic scenes where the algorithm in these social networks is played by like three different people, and they're like
Yeah.
controlling you or
I
whatever.
think it's all Pete Campbell from Mad Men in different costumes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
It's yeah, no, but you're right. It's weird. It's like and okay, that's another thing that like I learned in ad school that I didn't realize. It's not necessarily like humans, but there are active either like bots that humans are like controlling the general spread of or whatever,
Yeah.
bidding on the time on your timeline in real time. So it's like I mean, basically, it's like Javi's online. What do we know about Javi? We know these 5 things. Okay, today we're gonna show him. Um, oh my God, Javi, I almost bought you something that I kept getting advertised. That I clicked on it and then it kept coming up, and I can't believe I didn't just send it to you because I kept clicking on it because it was so cheap, and then it was so cheap that it like didn't matter, and then I just kept. It was edible glitter specifically to put in your rosé.
Never showed up in my algorithm.
I know. And then I had fed it. I recently figured out how on Facebook you can make companies stop advertising to you because
Okay.
I've purchased an enormous amount on the Chinese almost definitely slave labor website, and I have tried to stop using it. I stopped using it around the same time I stopped using Amazon Shein.
Okay.
Um
This
I
isn't
if you
Wish though.
what?
It's
No,
not
but
Wish though.
it's not Wish. I
Okay.
would guess that the people who make the two are friends.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like basically like I don't know what to say. It's like a whole mall in one website, and then they will figure out what store in the mall you want to go to and just give you targeted ads for that. So it was like, okay, for instance, I think I said out loud one day I wanted a pair of velvet leggings. And then it showed me this $9 pair of velvet leggings in every color every day for a week. And I was like, I can't buy that. I've sworn off this website because I think they use weaker slave labor. And then I went on Poshmark because I was like, I'm just gonna buy another pair of velvet leggings so that I don't get tempted by this. And then they were all $40. And anyway, so I finally figured out how to block Shein, so I just don't just know what we're missing. And I don't want to shame anyone who uses it because I know that like it's like a privileged stance to be like I won't shop at this cheap website,
Yeah.
especially like we have a friend who's like replacing her whole wardrobe right now due to transition, and she told me she was using Shein a lot.
Ah.
That I endorse. Do it. Anyway, I'm just trying to stop. Anyway, I rambled for a long time about one website.
No, I know. It's all it's I think a similar experience just in like how much clothes shopping I've done, knowing fully well I'm not going out in public, and like the amount of effort that I like put in like just to go to like the store.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, no, I bought a fantastic Sade shirt the other day, and I was like, no one's gonna see this forever, but I'm so excited to have it and wear it around my house.
I'm so glad you bought that.
Yes, thank you. Truly, truly, I've never been this girl, but like buying things is truly been a source of comfort in in quarantine.
My absolute favorite pitch I sent to Reductress that they didn't buy was just like a really anticlimactic piece about all the compliment. Like you dress up every day to go to not every day. You're not supposed to go more than once a week. I go twice a week. You dress up to go to the grocery store, and then the cashier gives you like a minor compliment, and it's everything. So it's like woman wears sequin jumpsuit to get cool jumpsuit.
Love
uh
it.
anyway, should we dive into Britney Spears? Do we have
I
any
think
more
so.
thoughts on these topics before we move on?
I'm ready to jump in.
Okay. Um, I told Javi I'm gonna try and give us a comprehensive look at this, and then we'll start talking about some of our like thoughts, feelings, and conspiracy theories. But Javi obviously comment whenever, and we'll talk.
Can I say some things before we dive in?
Please, I
Okay.
want that.
Okay.
Oh, we could talk. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, okay. First of all, just to let the readers in, you texted me this afternoon and you're like, "Do you want to do this podcast?" And I was
Yes,
like,
this is very last minute.
that's okay. Like I said, very excited. My immediate thought process was like, I know enough about pop culture and enough to know like sort of what's going on. I know the big beats. I'm gay after all, so I know the big beats. I definitely follow her on Instagram. My boyfriend's I would say it's his, we all have that that diva worship musical
Mhm.
figure. Every gay man has one. Britney is certainly his. So we do a lot of back and forths anytime she posts something. So it's very excited, but also just like I don't know the details, which I feel like is what you're bringing to the table.
Thank you.
Yes. But the other thing I just wanted to ask before we dive in is I am curious, process wise, what your relationship to Britney Spears was prior to all of this.
Thank you for asking. I believe that I am the same as every woman of my age demographic who is naturally blonde with brown eyes, in that I felt that I was her. To be honest, okay, I love her. She is a part of me. You know, when something you're like, I don't even care about this anymore, like actively, but I realize I care about it very deeply because it was so essential to my childhood.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I have gotten back into it because I'm like, she's this whole like, there's this whole story here. But I actually, for a long time before I decided to love her again, I was very mad at Britney Spears because I think that the like teen idol boom of my youth made me think I wanted to be one. I legit would like practice singing in the shower. Meanwhile, I literally didn't think any comedians could be straight women. I just assumed Tina Fey was gay until I was 17, which is like past her prime on SNL.
I thought you were gonna say. I was like, all I knew was Paula Poundstone. That's all I knew of comedy.
Right? It's like most is Paula Poundstone gay?
She is.
Okay, good. I mean, well, she dresses. I often
Wait,
dress
is
like
she?
Paula Poundstone.
Who do I get?
Let's.
Who do? No, no. Paula Poundstone has to be gay.
She has to be
Uh,
gay. If you
I
want to
do. I
Google
do.
it,
I do culturally sort of get Judy Gold and Paula Poundstone confused. God, I was a weird kid. I was really obsessed with Judy Gold.
I just Googled Paula Poundstone gay question mark. I have to stop reading this. An article from 2001 just says until her June 27th arrest on child molestation charges, Paula Poundstone lived 2 lives. We can't get
No,
into Paula
no.
Poundstone.
Wow, you just like brought back a flood of memories. I vaguely remember when that happened and being like, that's crazy. Paula Poundstone, that lesbian?
You never hear about women touching
Oh
children.
no.
I mean, I
Oh
know I
no.
have. Okay,
This
wait.
is a rabbit hole you're gonna fall down. I'm so excited. I'll see you
but
here next week.
That's my rough story about how I felt about Britney Spears. I posted on Facebook today. My favorite Britney Spears story is when she was at the peak of fame. I was still shopping at the store Buckle a lot. I don't know if you remember it.
I almost made a buckle joke earlier when you said something about the mall.
It's Buckle. I don't know what to say beyond I don't know why they put a department store in another store in the mall. There's like nothing that links their clothes together whatsoever. There's no reason to go there, but I did really okay. Lucky Brand jeans, if you're curious, are the best jean brand if you have no ass whatsoever. They're very expensive, but most jeans require. I didn't grow a butt until I was like 27, and it was like my pants would fall off. Like it was a huge issue. So we always had to go to Buckle because they had Lucky Brand jeans, and those would stay on my ass. So I was in the dressing room at Buckle one time, and my mom said to the dressing room attendant, Katie looks so good in all these clothes. Also, I think she looks like Britney Spears. And the dressing room attendant said, yeah, a lot of moms think that.
That's so good.
So cruel. It's so funny. I don't think she thought I would hear, but I 100% did.
Oh man, that really got me. My retail experience, a lot of awkward conversations with people waiting for their children to get dressed.
Oh, I want to thank Lane's high school friends for still being here, even though he is absent.
That's very sweet.
I was worried about that.
Also, low key, is he just not doing this because of Britney Spears?
Dude,
I can't imagine like Mick Jagger quoting Lane Ingram being like, "Let's do this Britney podcast."
I was like, I do kind of want. I mean, I was excited to tell Lane because I thought he was going to be like, Lane is the straight man sometimes, and he would just be like, "That's crazy." Because also, okay, to the people who are listening to this now and the people who are going to listen to it as a podcast, I feel like half of our audience knows so much about the Britney Spears conservatorship, and the other half knows literally nothing. Like, I feel like you either know everything or nothing. Yeah. And so I was excited to have Lane be the voice of the I don't know anything. But Lane is like, I can't believe we're going through a pandemic. And then if you listen to this podcast, you know, he's been going through just like a big change in his relationship with his extended family. And for anyone who's curious, they did close on a house. That's something we've been following. So they're moving next Wednesday. We won't have a show next Wednesday for any regular listeners. I don't think it'll affect the podcast release, but people are excited. Lane did I hope I'm not ruining telling people that for him,
So
but
exciting.
they're moving next on Thanksgiving, which is crazy, but exciting because what else can we do on Thanksgiving? Where was I going with this?
Well, the point is, Well, I think I feel like I'm a happy fit-in because I do love Britney, but I don't know like the granular level of detail about this case.
Well, then I will give you a brief overview, and then we can talk about the idea of a conservatorship generally, which you might be able to lend some perspective to as a social worker and anyone in the chat who is of that profession. No
Yes.
pressure. You don't have. That's why I told Lane. I was like, you don't have to know anything at all.
No.
Okay.
Pressure you
So,
know.
I thought about having my friend who works for Hospice Austin come, and then, but she always says no because she's a very modest person, as you are when you work in elder care, I guess. Okay, so basically, the story to give you a very broad overview. After Britney, you all remember. I think everybody remembers. It was the year 2008. Britney Spears had a full-on manic episode where she famously walked into a barbershop, shaved her head, and then bashed a paparazzi window in with an umbrella. We all remember that. It was, I think, right after her marriage to the man Jason Alexander, who was not the Jason Alexander who was in Seinfeld, but rather another man altogether who she met in Vegas and then annulled her marriage.
I
So
did
she was
forget
like,
about Jason. This is post Federline, right?
this is post Kevin Federline. So
Okay.
there are 2 young children
Right.
involved in this.
Yes.
So basically, what happened was they went into court to, or no. She was in the mental hospital basically, and her father seized control of her estate.
Yeah.
She was actually on the outs with her father. They didn't have a very positive relationship. They hadn't been speaking, but she went into the hospital for this manic episode. He seized control of her estate. That includes all of her finances, her custody of her children, her bodily movements. She's not allowed to drive. She can't actually spend $1 without his permission, so she like can't go to Taco Bell on her own. And so basically she is under the complete and utter control of her father, and she has been since 2008. She can't see her kids without another person present. And she can't leave her house. And so, for instance, she needs permission to see and supervising a lot of the time to see friends or her boyfriend. She didn't have a boyfriend for a long time, but she does now. Um, and basically to live her life. So Britney Spears lives a life utterly devoid of any freedom outside of her home.
And it's been that way for 12 years now, right?
12 years.
Yep.
Yes. So the 2 things I wanted to touch on before we go into any details are, one, let's talk about conservatorships, because that is a word that I learned exclusively because of Britney Spears.
Sure.
Basically this is like a legally binding, someone takes over basically your control of yourself. There are 2 reasons this usually happens. One is called a limited conservatorship. So this is generally, for instance, if you have a child with Down syndrome, you will maintain a partial say in their legal decisions for the rest of their lives. But they go to work, they make their own money. So you're not necessarily all the time, and you hope for the person to have as much of their own agency as possible. Britney Spears is under what's called a probate conservatorship, which is utter and complete control of absolutely everything that you do. It is usually reserved for elderly people with extreme dementia and Alzheimer's. So they actually don't know what they're doing when they spend $1, and they can't work. And so conservatorship abuse is not unheard of at all. It does happen, but it is usually in the instance of, for instance, somebody's child taking advantage of them to financially extort them when they are older. So it's very rare. So in the case of Britney Spears, her father got all power over all aspects of her life, and maintained control of her as her business manager. And so he basically, like, he took multiple roles that are usually held by different people. So he is her business manager and takes a percentage of the money that she makes and also decides whether she works. So, for instance, for the past 12 years, she's worked almost every day. She had a very successful Las Vegas residency that made a
Mhm.
lot of money. Um, and then went on a world tour during which she was like flying and performing every night. And then came back and was in rehearsals for um a second Las Vegas residency, which is where a lot of the details we'll talk about today started, because that residency never moved forward. Now we know it never would have anyway. But she basically like canceled rehearsals. Um and we'll talk a little bit about this, but more or
This was
less
last year.
this is last spring. Yeah, this
Last
is
spring.
last
Okay.
April. Well, actually, I guess it was last January. She refused her medication for a while, according to sources. Again, Britney is not legally allowed to speak on this publicly because that would require the permission of her father.
Hmm.
But or at least her like lawyer who's in charge of whether her father gets to continue controlling her. And but she refused to take her medication because she felt it was not serving her,
Hmm.
which I mean, it's up for grabs, but for instance, my father doesn't get to tell me if I take my medication, so I have a lot of sympathy for that.
Right.
Um, and so he forbade her for continuing her Las Vegas residency. So that was basically a punishment for not being under his control anymore. Obviously, if she's on her not on her meds, they don't want her going on stage and
Hmm.
not having. She hasn't given an unscripted interview in a really long time.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so that's the conservatorship. That's the current situation. How you feeling so far, Javi?
It's. I mean, listen. It's like I. I knew most of this stuff. But it's. I don't know. We'll probably get more into it, but it's just wild to me. I don't know what the case is. And of course all that stuff is like sealed up, right? Like we don't know any sort of the details, but like thinking of somebody like her with her presentation, I mean, based on what we know, just those like outbursts in 2008, that to me was all like it would never lead to anything that extreme. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just don't see what the case would be. Like it's just as it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't hear about it for sure in my field at least.
No, for sure. And so my primary source for my information on this, in addition to whatever I've Wikipedia'd, um, is this podcast, Britney's Graham. And I am going to say, if this interests you, this is just the reason we're doing this is just to talk about it for our audience. And like for me, as like an artist with bipolar disorder, it's really personal because
Mhm.
that is the reason they claim to be holding her is her bipolar disorder, which is for so many an incredibly manageable condition.
Yeah.
Um but if you are interested in this, I really recommend the podcast Britney's Graham. I would start with the episode hashtag Free Britney. Basically, it's a podcast that two comedians with journalism backgrounds started for fun to follow. Because you remember, there was like a period where she was posting on Instagram all the time and it was fucking weird and fun. It was like her painting in a meadow with her horse,
Yeah.
like that kind of shit. So they
Yeah.
started this podcast when that was happening. And then they slowly started uncovering the details of the conservatorship, and then for a moment, they were considered a conspiracy theory podcast because they were the only ones saying that Britney Spears was held as a captor to her father. And then somehow became like a funnel for all the information
Hmm.
on um on this case and like getting it out to the public, because there is a enormous horde of crazy people who work for Jamie Spears, which is her father's name. I know this is confusing because she has a high profile
Well,
sister named Jamie Lynn.
but we all know it's Jamie Lynn. No, you would not refer to her as just Jamie.
Correct. Um so they like got this crazy voicemail in April of last year, and that was the guy who was like, yeah, just to confirm, Britney, because she was held in a mental facility from January to April after she refused her medication and they canceled her Vegas residency. And he basically called in and was like, yeah, they just said in April that she just went into mental health treatment, but she's been there against her will for 4 months. And then everything, like, kind of all hell broke loose because the public really cared. What else? Oh yeah. Oh, one of the hosts, because okay, yes. And then the reason we're talking about this week specifically is like a week and a half ago, Britney Spears went to court. She won her case removing her father as her conservator, which was considered an enormous win. Like, really going to change her situation for the first time in 12 years as effectively. I'm going to call her like a captor, because I think there's not really a great word for it,
Yeah.
but it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he appealed and won. So she briefly won freedom from her father, and then a second judge overturned that. How's that make you feel? How's that hit you?
No, I mean it's horrible. It's truly horrible. And I mean, like, I don't know. I tend to like sort of focus on whatever is going on with her, right? And listen, with whatever was going on with her, like, this was like a person who became so famous at like such a young age. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, like, if you remember, sorry, my wine is being refilled
Please.
right now by
Oh, hi, Keith.
Katie says hi.
Hi.
Keith says hi. But just like the discourse around her,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I hadn't really, like, there was a podcast I listened to about this. We're in quarantine, we'll
Yeah.
just listen to podcasts. But there was a podcast I was listening to about this, and it was like reminding me of like what the conversations were about her when she came out, and just like little, like, the details that were kind of flooding back to me of like, oh, she was kind of presented to us as this like virgin. Like, that was the thing that we talked about. Like, we talked
Yes.
about that like a lot. And just like
Yes.
thinking back of like what it must be like for this 18-year-old girl to suddenly be the most famous person in the world, and the entire world is talking about her virginity and her
Yes.
sex life, and that she's too risque and that she's too this. And it's just like this is like a creation of our own doing, or certainly an exacerbation of whatever she
Yes.
was maybe predisposed to. And so like there's like this part of me that is just like, I just want that woman that I've lost my mind to so many times at a gay bar just to have some peace.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
she's brought the world so much.
let's talk about what you just said for a minute, because it's crazy shit. Like, there are interviews with her from like way before this happened, like 2000.
Yeah.
And they're asking her, like, what is your there's one podcast where they ask her, what is your dream? And she says, to get my Starbucks myself.
Yeah.
Like, crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't know, like, before this, I think the biggest news splash she made was she did the like Rolling Stone cover shoot when she was 16. And that was back to back with the Baby One More Time video, where she's like showing her bra and her shirt's tied up. And the conversation focused on her as though a 16-year-old has consent or agency
Mm-hmm.
in these situations. And if you look back at that fucking Rolling Stone cover shoot with your adult eyes,
Yeah.
it's crazy. She's like holding a teddy bear
Mm-hmm.
and like has on these short, it's a photo of her ass and her shorts say baby. Like,
Yeah.
what grown man took these photos, and is he in jail?
Yeah. Yeah. No. It was crazy. I mean, I think there were like interviews where they would like straight up ask her. Like, it's so funny because I think at the time, right? Like, you're just of the time when you're living it. But just like, yeah, like, let's talk about it. Like, that's crazy. She's a whore, whatever. And just like to think about like that cannot happen now,
Yeah.
right? Like there's Twitter exists now, so like the outrage that anything like that could happen now is yeah, no, it's just wild to me.
Well, and like every woman of that era I can think of, like, okay, every woman who was in a picture at a club with Paris Hilton, which is literally everyone. It's crazy. Paris Hilton acted like it was her job to take 15-year-olds to the club when she's like 23. But you know, like, you think of like Lindsay. Okay, well, Lindsay Lohan's not a great example because she's never really recovered in the public eye, but that's not her fault. But like Amanda Bynes,
Yeah.
literally was so pressured to lose weight and work every day that she gave this incredible interview like 2 years ago. I don't remember what publication, but she was like, yeah, I started chewing Adderall. I would wake up every morning, and as someone who takes Adderall, I do bite off the tiny portion that I take, and it tastes good, so I get it. I don't know why they make those pills taste good. That's stupid. But Amanda Bynes was like popping several Adderall and chewing them to stay thin and focused, and it set her off on this crazy manic episode where she would like tweet at Drake every day to ask if he wanted to have sex. Like wild shit. Or like Miley Cyrus, like I think is a great example of like we've all kind of reaccepted her. Am I wrong about that? I think we've all
100%.
come back around because she
Yeah.
like gave all of her money to homeless LGBT youth for like a long time. She's an active vegan.
Her
Like,
trajectory is truly like, because I feel like she's lived like this like microcosm of like every child star that kind of loses it, because from like Hannah Montana to oh god, what the hell is the name of that album that she put out? And it was just wild. Anyways, but you're right. Well, no, she also fell out of favor because she talked shit about rap music in an interview.
yes,
And came off a little racist. I think has
yes.
come back into favor because I think she's embracing rock, and I don't know, the gays like her.
Yeah, I think there's like a mixed bag. I guess that the issue is sort of like none of these kids are afforded. Okay, like let's just give it this. We all read the internet all the time. Like any aspect of my wokeness or whatever I get from having the free time to think about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to dismiss anything straight up weird or racist that they said, but it's not like Miley Cyrus had in Party in the USA, she like sings about Jay-Z, and then later interviews found out that's how she learned that Jay-Z existed. And that's really fucked up, but also like she had nothing to do with that. I keep thinking about that. Like when I was making like the advertising for today's show, I was like, I don't know what lyric from Lucky to use to promote this. But also, okay, like the song Lucky, sorry, I'm gonna like get off track for a second. Britney Spears was not allowed to write any of her own music. She never wrote a single fucking song. Like, it's not even like, I don't know. Tari
No,
just
that's
commented
not
in
true.
the
She
chat.
definitely wrote a song. What's that?
Oh my God, which one? Tell me more.
No, she's written songs. I know this secondhand. I will find out for you.
Okay.
You tell me what Tori said.
No, don't worry. Tari said like, look at the way that like Britney was marketed differently than Destiny's Child, which I am like anything you want to share about that, Tori, I would totally read off out loud. But I think about it in terms of like, I think Beyonce has always had a total hand in her creative process and like the songs.
Well, she had similar situation with an overbearing father who was controlling her career. Yeah. And similar to Janet Jackson, was able to kind of like break out of that. And I mean, remember that there was a time period where Tina Knowles made all of Beyonce's clothes.
I was hoping that was what you were going to say. If you're listening to this, wherever you are, I don't care if you think you remember what Destiny's Child's outfits look like. Google Tina's like Destiny's Child outfits right now. They're so horrible and perfect. They're both close.
I would, and listen, I have nothing but respect for Miss Tina Knowles. But truly, like, to think about like the fashion icon that Beyonce is now.
Absolutely. Tina is America's mom. If you don't follow her on Instagram, your Instagram feed is broken.
Oh, I do spend time thinking about how often Tina gets like pissed texts from Beyonce being like, Beyonce's like Instagram feed is so curated and it's so controlled, and that like Tina will sometimes be like, look who came to visit today. It's like Beyonce without makeup or whatever. It's so funny to me.
Just full on political at all times, which, to be fair, always what you want to hear.
For sure.
Where were we? Oh
We
yeah,
were
yeah.
talking about they were marketed differently.
Yes. Well, but also like they crafted this whole weird story for like Britney and Justin where
Oh
like
yeah.
they're like in love and they have the like the baby one more time. Fuck, I don't even remember what lyric it is. But then and then they go through like oh, the my loneliness is killing me line
Hmm.
was like, oh yeah, this is like this horny teenager. And then they go through Lucky, which is like she's so famous, but she's still relatable because she's sad. And if you listen to the lyrics of that, it's like she's so lonely because she's so famous, she has no reality anymore, which
Right.
they must regret writing that for her now. And then they literally put the line from Baby One More Time in Stronger, where it's like, my loneliness
Mhm.
ain't killing me no more. And it's like, why did you create this arc?
That was all the first album too, right?
I think that was over 2 or 3. Maybe just 2. I think Baby One More
No,
Time and Lucky might have been the same album. And then Stronger
no,
was
I
after.
think Stronger's on the same album. The only reason I think I know this is because I looked it up and I was like, it's weird that one song references another song on the same album.
Okay, my only point of reference, Javi, and I don't mean let's look it up. I think that Oops, I Did It Again and Stronger Britney Spears discography. Why am I doing this? It
Oh, you
doesn't
know what?
matter.
You're totally right. You're totally right.
Thank you. I'm
It
sorry.
was the next album.
But it is only 2 albums. That's her second album, right?
Yes, yes.
It's like the
Yeah.
next one she has recovered.
But also, you brought him up. Isn't it wild how like not that he did nothing, but like he was just sitting there enjoying being famous and like we all came to the same conclusion that Justin Timberlake is a villain. Like he absolutely went from being Justin Timberlake the idol and now like we're all like, no, I hate you. And he was like, I wasn't doing anything. And it's like, no, we were wrong. We were totally okay with you putting a Britney Spears lookalike in your video. Everybody was like, we were
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. She's such a whore, whatever. Like we were all wrong, but you were the most wrong.
Yes.
And now
And he
know
ripped
that.
up Janet Jackson's boob. And then
No,
only she got backlash from that.
no, yeah, no. I'm the most angry about that. That's my. I mean,
I know.
honestly, like looking back, like Janet's career takes a very sharp turn at that point.
Sucks.
Like she hasn't really had like a hit since then, which is bananas because there are a lot of hit worthy songs after that point.
I almost marketed this show by saying Javi's qualifications are he once came out to his brother at a Janet Jackson concert. Um, but I can cut
Also,
that out
Justin Timberlake is largely a part of the reason that I came out of the closet, or at least like came to terms with like being gay.
because
Uh,
you were sexually attracted to him.
yeah,
I relate to that.
very specifically the "Tearing Up My Heart" video.
Mm. Ah, yes. That appeared in some of your greatest writing.
Yes, thank
All I remember
you.
about that, I'm sure I've said this to you before, was that his armpits were shaved in that video. Okay.
No, I don't remember that detail.
Okay. Okay. But Britney, they made her sing the sad song. Where was it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And she's under the like severe developmentally disabled conservatorship.
Yes.
Da 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 da. Okay, we're talking about it because of that. Boo, 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 boo. Sorry, I have randomly my notes are a nightmare for what we're doing today. Okay, well, here's a random fact I learned today that was very upsetting to me. I'm going to share it.
Okay.
So, Jamie Spears, conservator, shouldn't be severe conflict of interest because he makes money off of making her work. So, not only is he
Oh.
making the money, but he is giving enormous payouts to everyone involved. So, for instance, the lawyer who was supposed to be Britney's advocate was making $500,000 a year
Wow.
that they were paying him. So like everybody around them is getting all of the money from all of the Vegas residency and the world tour, but she isn't allowed to spend it. So nobody is protecting her at any point
Yeah.
because they stand to financially gain from her being like this in a chapter.
I
A
mean,
chapter.
that's what it all had to come down to eventually, right? Like just me knowing, and it's just it's so crazy because it's like everybody from the outside in. This is like I feel like I'm just talking about like the Trump presidency, but like from the outside in, we're all like, this is crazy. Like this is not reality. Like what are y'all doing? And they're like, we found cause for it, and it's like, why is this happening? And it's because they're all profiting from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and the like stigmatization of just like crazy women generally. And I
yeah,
think you're right that maybe this is like, I feel like the Trump presidency has shaken us out of a lot of things.
yeah.
Like the Me Too movement was like all of 2018. That's like what we talked about. And then this came like right on the heels of that. Like 2019, we started talking about this for the first time. And I just feel like we had all kind of accepted that like sometimes men exploit women
Right.
and that's reality.
Yeah.
But I don't know, one of the because I was trying to catch up on all of this today, even though like last year I was like very entrenched in this and probably
Mhm.
listened to like 20 hours of podcasts about it that I again forgot. Have things stick out in my mind as I'm like, that's a big deal. And I vaguely remember the details around it, but I was trying to catch up on it today. Things I learned today that were upset. Well, of course, first things first, like her mother is severely on her side in this. Granted,
Mhm.
okay, we don't have Britney's perspective on almost any of this because she's not allowed to speak in public.
Right. Right.
Things we have is that she does continue to go to court every year to try and overturn this. Um, and she recently made for the first time her lawyer has started to take her side a little bit. That was why she was able to buck her father one time before the appeal.
Mhm.
Her lawyer released a statement that basically said that Britney is grateful for people having conversations like this one. Because up until now, the people who were controlling her social media didn't want us to know that.
Right. Well, even
Um,
and even she was putting out videos and messages basically saying like, I'm perfectly okay, I'm healthy, I'm happy, everything is great,
yes,
which is that's some hostage level shit.
it's crazy. Well, and okay. So anyone, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm like checking the chat to see how people feel and what they're doing. Everybody talks about if you haven't looked at Britney's Instagram recently, I do recommend just give it a look. Don't judge. But her eyes are terrifying. Is that
No, that tracks. Do you know how old she is?
but basically it's like the medications that she's on are likely to give you dead eyes. And then she like has this weird amount of eye makeup on. Anyway, a lot of people grasp onto this because she looks nuts.
Yeah.
And it's likely because she's being kept sedated in a way that makes her not 100% there. But a lot of the media coverage like focuses on that. Or like one time she was leaving a hearing where she had to defend her right to be a human being. And she made it to the parking garage, thought she was alone, took off her shoes, and walked the rest of the way to her car barefoot. And there was a photographer on a higher level of the parking garage who took photos of her not wearing shoes and it's like a crazed Britney walks barefoot to her car.
Crazy.
And
Crazy. Do you know? Because I would like that was what I was talking about earlier was
yeah.
just like what we sort of did to her as a culture, and like a lot of that was like paparazzi culture, which was like
Mm-hmm.
such a big deal back then, and I don't feel like is that big of a deal right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
because of the situation, like she's frozen in time. Like anytime she goes out in
Yes.
public, like it's just like 2000 all over again with like the level of that shit that she has to deal with.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Well, and like anything that's marketed to young girls is immediately devalued. And I think about okay, so Mandy Moore was My choice. If I need to repost, I found a piece in my journal from probably like 7th grade
Mhm.
about why Mandy Moore was my favorite of Britney and Christina, and it was like very like I thought I was journalistic. I was like Mandy blows past them with her cool jams or something. Anyway, but when she was dating Ryan Adams, who, if you haven't read about that relationship, forever fuck Ryan Adams. He can jump off a fucking bridge. But he's like a serious indie musician. And he was able to more or less completely control her because all of society was telling her she had no talent and her music was bad because first of all she wasn't given creative control over her music and it was only marketed to young girls. So she like has written incredible stuff and like gone to court and like testified about the ways in which she was like stripped of her agency as a young girl and even entered into an abusive marriage because she was taught that she had no value. But like Britney too, it's like we don't think of her as an artist even though she spent every day. First of all, Britney's dancing.
Yeah.
That's the real art.
Oh no, here's like this is what I feel like this is a shift that's happened in my life very recently because like when I was younger, like whatever. It's all homophobia, right? Like
Yeah.
I was so deeply closeted and like in turn like I was very much like with my friends like Britney Spears sucks, blah blah blah, and blah, whatever. And like later in life was like, you know what? I mean, some of these are bops. Like once I found a gay
Yeah.
bar, I was like, oh, we danced to this. This is what we do. Cool, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool. And then like most recently, I've gone through this shift because unfortunately, I feel like culturally, I was impacted way too much by American Idol, where I
Mm.
was like, to me, like a good artist was A, someone who like wrote their own words, and B, someone who could belt. Like that was like
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
high bar for singing. So
Mhm.
like in recent years, and recently, like honestly, it was like past year, like I've been able to like sort of go back and I was like, no, fuck you. Like, yeah, Madonna can't belt, but she's a really talented artist. And Britney maybe didn't write all these words, but like what she created, like she absolutely had a hand in. And like, that's not just like some like plug in any person here. And they would have been Britney Spears. Like this all was like coming very organically, like from
Yeah.
her. And she's a masterful pop artist.
Yeah.
Um, and like the discourse back then was like, this is all like bullshit. Like these aren't real artists. Like blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
No, you're right. Well, and it's like I don't know. I think maybe they've done a better job recently. Okay, I think about whenever Ariana Grande is on SNL.
Mhm.
Maybe she won't be anymore. I hear there's some beef there. But like she is fucking incredible. And the same's true of Miley Cyrus too. But
Mhm.
like they'll just go on and they'll nail every cue. They'll be like perfect, perfect, perfect. And I think it's because those Disney kids were like programmed
Yeah.
from a young age to be consummate performers and stars.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I told you I was going to make you talk about okay, if you have time to get sucked into a YouTube rabbit hole, Google Britney Spears' real voice because you'll start off like, what is this psycho conspiracy theory? A lot of this sounds like conspiracy theory stuff, and it's all real, but like, this one is on the fringe, so go make your decision for yourself. But basically, Britney Spears is a very talented singer, and there's a lot of evidence of that. A large body of videos from roughly right before she started releasing music as a solo artist. And she's an alto. She like has this deeper, huskier voice. Definitely not a Christina Aguilera or a Whitney Houston, but closer to that than what we've heard.
Mhm.
And then it's documented that she was required to go to vocal coaching to make her sound. Javi, do you have an impression? I'm not, you don't have to. I'm just, a lot of people have one.
Trying to like find a phrase. Oh no, I know what it is. I know what it is. Hold on. Good morning, America. No, it's not good. I'm trying to do that Good Morning America commercial she did. Whatever. It's a baby. It's a baby voice.
my dreams, I fall so far. I can't do it like
That's
Ariana
almost
Grande.
Tori Amos. I'm
I
just giving you
think
notes.
I need you, baby. It's bad. Okay, I'm gonna keep saying dumb. Did I already say something dumb my father said? Regardless, I'm getting into one. One day we were in the car. Turned out, because I was making my family listen to all this music at all times. We're in the car. My father decides to take a very strong stance in the Britney versus Christina debate. This man only listens to AM radio, but I think I broke him. And he was like, Christina Aguilera is one of the best singers I've ever heard. I mean, she might even top Mariah Carey. What are you making me listen to? This Britney Spears. She sounds like a broken parrot.
What does that mean?
So mean, but it's not inaccurate. But like, I don't know, like, we don't know why they made her sound like a child, but the likelihood is if they're sexualizing her on this level at 16 and selling her as basically a child prostitute to the masses. Sorry, that's not a word we use anymore, and I apologize. But it's, I don't know, it's weird.
It's crazy that like we pitted them against each other. Like they couldn't be more different artists. Like they're so worlds apart different.
And they were probably friends at one point.
I'm sure. They must have been.
They were on the Mickey Mouse Club together with Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the reason they were like always tied together, but it's just like, yeah, they're very different artists. Also, if I'm being honest, I never liked Christina Aguilera.
Wow.
Like I respect her, but I've just like I've never listened. I've like she's just not on any of my playlists. That's all I'm saying.
I just feel like that's dark because Britney still has some wider appeal, but ever since Burlesque, Christina Aguilera is exclusively gay appeal. She no longer even has straight female fans, which is tragic because she sings really well.
I can't believe I haven't watched that movie in quarantine.
Dude, I've only seen half of it. I really wish we lived in the same city and we could watch it together. That would be really fun.
Oh my god, it is so good. Oh, my favorite thing about my favorite thing, if you haven't seen Burlesque, please go see it. Also, don't go see it for Burlesque because there's no burlesque in Burlesque. That's kind of my favorite part of the movie.
Kristen Bell is a brunette.
Mm-hmm.
Cher is there.
Alan Cumming is the host.
Oh, really?
Of the restaurant.
Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's a really hot. Who's the male lead?
Oh, I don't remember. It wasn't.
This is not important. You can hear us having more drinks as this podcast.
I said to Keith tonight, because we're trying not to drink on weeknights, and I was like, well, I'm doing the show. I have to have a drink. And I was like, it won't be anything crazy. It'll just be 2 glasses of wine. I think this is the 4th.
We talked about this last week, that I was like, I can't exist in a void in front of people without drinking.
I mean, one time I logged into quarantine and Mace and Laura were both like, oh, we're just like not drinking right now. And I was like, what? Like I thought that was the conceit of the show, other than us being gay. I don't know.
That is a nightmare. And when you log on and everybody else is like, not only are we going to make more sense than you, but we're going to seem morally superior. Sorry, I'm just looking at everything I wrote down to make sure we've covered it.
So what do you think is going on with Britney Spears' boyfriend?
Oh, I'm glad that I'm glad that you're here so that we can talk about this.
Yes.
Okay. For recap, for people who aren't following her Instagram as close, if you don't follow her, I do recommend it. She posts a lot of minions. She's just Britney Spears is not evolved, and I'm fine with that. She's still living in the year. Katie,
I think you're looking at Nathan Soul's account. specific joke for 3 people.
Oh boy. Our friends recently decorated their whole house with minions so much that a 14-year-old girl tried to videotape them on their doorstep, asking them why they did it so that that child could go viral. That's so funny. But she has this
Nathan running out. It's ironic.
Okay, so she has this really hot boyfriend with whom she does acro yoga that's very sexy. I have made Sanjay recreate those videos with me. Not on video, obviously. But he's super sexy, but obviously he had to be pre-approved. He was kind of in the picture before any of this really blew up at all.
Okay, so that was kind of my thing. Is like I just like I don't want to like suggest that he's hired, but like that's one extreme, but like but leading up to that extreme is what you're saying is like, well, at some point this had to be vetted, this had to be
Yes.
approved. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Yeah.
Well, and if you read just like any comment section about him, like 80% of the comments are just like, Sam is sus. And I'm like, I speak youth. I get what's happening. Same Sam. Oh yeah, okay, but the other thing is like it's weird because one of the things that blew up about Britney Spears last January that seems like it may have been related to her losing so much more agency. Like she may have slowly started to regain it because they thought she was like a good prisoner or whatever. But she is not allowed to drive. And there are photos of, for some reason, she posted to her own Instagram, which seems risky. I don't even know how she did it because I don't even know if she's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But she went to In-N-Out with Sam and she was driving. And it was right after that she was hospitalized.
Oh, no shit. Oh, so this was like when she went off meds?
Yeah, this was like
Gotcha.
January. So that's the one thing Sam is going for him in my mind is he was like, yeah, drive the car.
I'm on Team Sam. I don't know if we're doing teams.
Yeah, but it is weird. It is weird. Oh, Tina just goes, Sam is smoking. He's very attractive.
He's very good looking. He's a personal trainer. He's very good looking.
I think he's like 10 years younger than her too. But Britney Spears should not be dating someone her own age, both because she's so famous that makes her hotter than she is. And she is not emotionally grown. And I don't say that because someone has held her in her house without any power for real, like you can't grow.
Right. Her, like, we were talking about her Instagram and like her general appearance on the Instagram, and like I'll qualify this by saying I shouldn't be commenting on someone's appearance, but it is there's a point here. Every time I see her, I'm always like, wait, isn't she my age? And I have to Google it, and she's 2 years older than me. She's 38. She looks a lot older than that. But circling back, it's just like, yeah, that's what I would look like after the shit she's been through. Like, it has aged her. Life has done a number on her.
Yeah.
It's and still doing it, but just yeah.
Well, it's not like she's allowed to go to Sephora and try on every face cream either.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what I'm like. That's I'm being jokey, but like we can't have like an approved gay makeup artist that's in there for the Instagrams. Like the Instagram is basically the business right now.
No, absolutely. I think about that all the time because if she posts a video, occasionally she'll post a photo because she wears this dark eye makeup that is fascinating as a choice.
Yeah.
And I don't want to judge it at all, but it's a lot. And if she just posts a video without the eye makeup on, she instantly looks her age again.
Yeah. It's, well, we were talking about this a second ago. Just like what social media has done to our crop of celebrities, where it's like she is in a situation where she probably has very little agency over that Instagram account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like pre-approved or whatever. There's like Beyonce, whose Instagram content is like super highly curated.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very clearly like protecting a brand. I don't know why she's in the middle, but like there's Madonna, who clearly like who was somebody who had like a similar mystique as Beyonce, but has
Yeah,
control of her Instagram account and probably shouldn't.
absolutely.
Uh, and it's just like like I don't like once you hit that sort of stratosphere of fame, like what the business decision at that point
Yeah.
is like where do we find the balance as to letting you express yourself but also not ruining everyone's image of you.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I'm kidding. She has full mental agency and she's doing that to herself. No,
that's
but I
true.
feel you. I mean, some of it is fun in an iconic way. I mean, even Madonna is like, we kind of, but Cher is psycho.
Oh yeah, sure, so
And I
good.
love it.
Sure, so good on Twitter. Yeah, yeah. If you don't follow Cher, you should absolutely follow Cher.
I still have one of her tweets as my cover photo on Facebook, and it says, is no one going to help me with postal service? No, is no one going to help me with post office? This face.
Oh, I love
uh,
her.
oh, yeah.
The only time I've seen Dylan in quarantine was we crossed paths at our office because we share this. This is a fellow comedian friend of ours, and Dylan works in my office, and we crossed paths. And for whatever reason, we started talking about that phase in pop music where everybody was putting out a Latin record.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Uh,
God.
and Cher did it at the time, and it was it's bananas because it's like a Latin song, but it's like a French title, and the video is like Argentinian tango. Um, it's so funny. It's so funny.
My God, I totally forgot about that. Because they made Christina Aguilera, I feel like, put out more than one.
Yes. Well, no. Well, Christina, because she is Latinx, has like
Okay.
she has like multiple Spanish language albums. I think she has two.
Yeah. I was just
That's
Googling
right.
to see if she was actually Latina or if that was just something that was sold to me because Jennifer Lopez's ass had taken America by storm.
I believe she's half,
Okay.
and I believe her Spanish is okay, but enough that, like, of course, some marketing company was
Yeah.
like, "You're putting out a Spanish language album."
Yeah. I accept that
Yeah,
as reality.
yeah.
That's very funny. Britney never did, and
Yeah, that's exactly what I
good.
was thinking. I was like, I don't think Britney ever did.
It would have been an issue, I think.
Do you remember that Britney performance at the VMAs? I should be more specific. There were several iconic ones, but I'm specifically thinking of the when she did "Give Me More."
It's not the snake one.
It's not the snake one.
It's not the kiss one.
No, it's not because oh my god, there are so many. There's like there's iconically the one where she comes out and she's like in a tux and she rips the tux off, and that's "Oops, I Did It Again."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, then there was "Toxic" with the snake. Then the thing with Madonna, and then like a few years later, this was like it was supposed to be like her big return from like the 2008 breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like it was widely panned. I mean, the song is the best, and I don't think it's enough credit,
Yeah.
but the performance was like her. It felt like she was very lazily dancing through it. Perhaps she was on some sort of drugs.
Yeah.
And I just I remember specifically the cuts to the audience. And I can't remember who the celebrities were, but it's celebrities all reacting like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I was just like, and it was like back in those days, like MTV, even with like their like just like video editing, like for like award shows, was so snarky and so mean, and just the worst. I'm just keep bringing up Britney injustices.
No, you're fine. Well, and that's kind of like the crux of it, right? Is like, this is from such a popcorn time in our lives.
Yeah.
Britney took off during the Clinton administration, which is the most popcorn time in my lifetime. I feel
Yeah.
like we thought nothing was wrong. Looking back, a lot of things were wrong.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. I guess, yeah. I was kind of like, okay, like we have like 15 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for why I wanted to talk about this and like strong feelings. I think we've touched on one of the main things is that this is like an encapsulation of a misogyny that doesn't touch a lot of male celebrities. Like
Yes.
Honey Boy exists, which is the Shia LaBeouf film he made
Oh yeah.
about his relationship with his father and how he ended up so fucked up. But let's
Did you see that?
remember, I haven't watched it. I know
Okay.
some friends whose opinions I respect really liked it.
Okay.
Also, I rewatched Even Stevens recently. I'm sorry. When Disney Plus came out, my roommate at the time and I just watched random shit all the time.
Sure.
But Shia LaBeouf was like I don't want to go off too long, but Shia LaBeouf was like a genuine comedic genius for a 13-year-old. It was crazy.
Oh no, he was so good. No, I remember because I remember as soon as he was in a movie, I was like, he's gonna be big. Like he was good.
I did not do research on Shia LaBeouf. I picked him out of a hat, but like he like DUI crashed his motorcycle into shit. Like he like punched people in public. He did that thing where he wore a paper bag on his head to an award show that said "I am not famous," which I do think is incredibly punk rock and cool, but it's exactly as punk rock and cool as shaving your head and bashing a windshield in with an umbrella.
Do you remember the what's it called? That art exhibit that he did?
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I don't remember. It was like, sorry, our tech Preston just said this should be next week's episode. Next week, Shia LaBeouf. But it was like experiential stuff, right? Or what was it?
It was like he was sitting at a table. It was something like him sitting at a table, and it was basically Marina Abramovich's thing. Like you come in and like you sit with him. I can't remember specifically what it was. I also just remember that a comedian organized a dueling art show in an art studio across the street where people had to line up and they would get in and they would sit down, but it was with Jerry O'Connell, and I always thought that was very, very funny.
But again, if Britney Spears had done that,
yeah,
everyone would be like, this psycho bitch. I don't know. I guess, okay, so misogyny is one thing.
yes.
Also, like the idea that if you have one bipolar manic episode, you can't take care of your children at all.
You're off mic.
I know, I'm sorry. I got too worked up. You can't take care of your children at all. You can't. It's just like this is usually for people who can't make their own money, and she's making 20 people a good living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could not happen to Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's to think about that we are very publicly watching somebody be completely exploited and stripped of all of their agency and resources, and we're all just watching it.
Yeah.
And like in a system that's absolutely allowing it, and clearly like we're barely like chipping the surface of it being able to make a change, and that is bananas. And yeah, you're right, would never happen with a male celebrity. No male celebrity.
Well, I guess it for me, it like kind of comes back to like the thesis of our podcast with the "Yeah, but are you happy?" It's like, what is your ultimate goal in stardom? And I think a lot of people, when you look at the dismissive dialogue surrounding this case, it's like, so what? She's being held in captivity in this giant mansion where she has all this money. And it's like, I would rather be poor and have friends and Taco Bell when I want it. I don't know why I keep using Taco Bell, except it's the cheapest thing I consume. Then be super rich, have no friends, and not be allowed to drive away from my house. And so it's like, what is money without those other things?
Sorry, I was distracted by Tari's comment.
What's it? Our friends Tari and Tina are genuinely providing an enormous amount of information and entertainment in the chat, and we haven't read all of it. What was this?
Tari said, what she's going through is horrible and awful. I need to add her to my mom's prayer list at church.
All Black women's prayers get double the points, she says. It's beautiful. No, but they were talking about how her eyeliner is a shit show, but her body is incredible. Okay, brief recap. Sorry. I really believe that Britney needs to be given complete freedom. She would be sane if people would just let her live her life. She did burn down her home gym because she left a candle burning too long. And then, because she makes a lot of workout videos, that's like an enormous amount of her digital content, because that's not controversial for her handlers. She had to make a bunch of workout videos for a while that started, I'm so sorry, I haven't made a workout video in a while. I burned down my home gym.
Also, what home gym does she need? She has 3-pound weights that she waves around in the air, and that's kind of all the workout that she does. And God bless her, like her body looks incredible. She doesn't need to do much more. And the
Okay, yeah, but
aforementioned
I
acro
feel like,
yoga.
yeah, she does a lot of like body weight stuff. I do remember there's like, when I was young, Britney Spears was who I wanted to be. And there were videos of her doing workouts, and whatever position they like showed her in during that workout, I would do that for the rest of the year. There was
Oh.
one where she did the like ab workout where you like go like this,
Yeah.
which I don't think is very effective. I think it's a lesser ab workout. And I did it. Sorry, for those who aren't watching, I sort of rocked side to side with my upper body. I did it 100 times a day, every day for 365 days, I'm sure.
I watched so much VH1, and I watched some sort of VH1 special where Usher showed off his ab workout routine, and I did that ab workout routine for years, and I was in middle school.
We love this is you know what we should do is have an episode where we talk about men's body dysmorphia, because to me that is one of the most overlooked subjects in American mental health discourse.
Oh, I'm not inviting myself back, but please invite me back.
No, dude, I think it's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I bring this up. I very firmly believe that a woman with bipolar disorder should have the right to see her own children. It's a crazy thing, I think. And it's a crazy thing, I think, as someone with bipolar disorder who would probably never tell my pseudo mother-in-law that, because she would judge me and think I shouldn't be allowed to have her grandchildren. But regardless, if you're listening to this and you think the Britney Spears case is silly celebrity gossip, it's a severe violation of her rights. Javi, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Mostly that Britney Spears is an icon.
Yes.
She deserves the world.
Yes.
She gave us In the Zone, which I think is a perfect album.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, free Britney. Let's
Free Britney.
please.
Hashtag free Britney. Her children deserve her. Her mother deserves her. Her sister deserves her. She can't see any of those people right now, and that's fucked up. Javi, when is the next time the quarantine is happening?
Hey, come back to this channel in 2 evenings. We'll be back on Friday. I think we have an earlier start time this Friday, so I can't remember what time that is, but we'll be here.
For people listening at home, does that happen every second Friday?
It's on a 2-week rotation.
2 weeks, every other week.
Yeah, it's just every other week.
So follow Quarantine on Facebook if you liked Javi, which if you didn't, you're dead to me.
Love it. Thanks for having me. I love being here. I've loved just catching up with you.
I really like that you're here, and I really hope I didn't ramble too much about Britney Spears because I had 2 IPAs. Hey,
I have missed your rambling desperately, so.
Oh my God, that's really touching. For friends who come every week, again, we won't have a show the night before Thanksgiving, both to celebrate Thanksgiving with our families and I'm lying. I don't have Thanksgiving plans besides making dinner with my boyfriend and one other person. But Lane's moving. That's the real truth. Um so come back, follow Javi on everything, follow Quarantine, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you to Preston Our Tech, as always. Stay sexy, America.
Bye.
Bye.